Languages through music. Languages through music. Languages through music. Languages through music. All right, so welcome everybody to the Languages Through Music podcast. Super special guest today is Kadialy Kouyate, who is a kora magician, an amazing singer and composer from Senegal. So happy to have you here today, Kadialy.
Thank you,
so
Desta,
much.
for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we're here in a room packed with kora. I've never seen so many koras in my entire life.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you haven't been around this side of SOAS.
They're looking at us like an audience.
Yeah.
So if you could please, I'm sure with your family of incredible musicians, you have extremely early music memories, but what is your earliest music memory?
Yeah, I grew up in the south of Senegal in a region called Kolda, and a region dominated by the Fula and the Mandinka, and very artistic, and especially that region of Casamance belonged to the Gabu Empire, where the Kora was born, and then where you have the king, and then surrounded by in the royal court you have the griots that are like the entertainers, a succession of the Mande Empire in the 13th century. So the Gabu Empire was the last kingdom of the Mande Empire, so which was around the 18th, 19th century, So yeah, my whole family are musicians, coming from a griot family, so you are surrounded by this whole civilization, the tradition of the griot, because that's our role in the society. We are entertainers, that's our full-time job. So every time people are playing around me as a child, my grandfather, cousins, uncles, and usually we live in this big compound where people come from different villages who are relative or close or distant relatives. They will just come anytime. They will just pop up, and they're also musicians. They will just
play every day, or is it like a special day where people get together and play?
Yeah, it's just like our daily life routine. Yeah, so I grew up in that environment, the music being around me.
So how old were you when you started to learn?
Yeah, usually I would say maybe around 5, 7.
Wow.
But in reality, as a child, I was surrounded by this music around me. So as a child, there are not many other attractive toys for children around. The kora is or the balafon or things like that are very, because it's a musical instrument. So of course, you're always around those things. You play around with them as well, and they let you do because that's what the parents want. They want you to.
For this.
Yeah, you're born for this. So when you are messing about with those instruments, they won't tell you to let go or something like that. So yeah, I think I was just like surrounded by it from an early age, and then just grow up knowing it, and then
From day one.
From day one, yeah.
So which languages do you speak, or which languages have you studied?
Yeah, so as I was saying, I grew up in this region called Kolda, which is has a nickname actually called Fuladu, which means the region of the Fula, Fulani people. But because it's the Fula and Mandinka, and in that region, they were actually, in that last kingdom of the Mande Empire, there was a battle between the Fula and the Mandinka called the War of Kansala. Between the Jankewali, who was the king of the Gabu, last king of the Gabu Empire, and the Fula leaders, who were like a Muslim and believers. So now these two ethnic groups have become cousins, the Fula and the Mandinka, because of after that war. And then but that region is mostly Fulani, spoken people. So I grew up speaking Fula as I was growing up.
first language?
No, Mandinka is my mother tongue.
And then Fula
But
second.
Fula, as a child, I played in Fula with friends and all the stuff.
Okay.
So my Fula was very, very, very good during my childhood. And of course, my Mandinka was good as well because, even the Fula also speak Mandinka. So we speak each other's language.
Okay.
So I spoke these two languages. I started my primary school in there, so where I started learning French, but that region is also very known for people's, for basically, if you go to Dakar, Wolof is very dominant, but in Kolda, it's very important that you speak a good French,
Oh, okay.
So in Kolda, in Ziguinchor, in that region of Casamance, people pride themselves for speaking French properly. I remember when I was in primary school, we used to do all this thing called symbolier, where if you speak another language at school, you will have to wear the shoulder, plate. It's like a donkey. Just
saddle.
Yeah. It's like made like a how do you call this?
Like a necklace.
Yeah. So you will wear it to show that
that you weren't
you are weak.
French.
Yeah. So it was important for you to study properly to sharpen your French.
Oh my God.
So I did my private school in there.
Until what age would that happen? Would that punishment happen?
It wasn't like a punishment, more like an encouragement
To learn French?
to study, to learn French, I was not that, one of those great students anyway at the time. So.
I was terrible with French. I was studying in Abidjan and I remember the punishments. Every time you did something bad, you had to write like 2 pages of the same French sentence.
Oh, really?
Or
Wow.
conjugate the verbs.
That's a punishment.
Yeah, it is a real punishment. So I always associated French at school with, just horror. And it wasn't until I found music I liked in it later.
Yeah. I think it was completely a different system of study anyway in there. But particularly in Kolda, you have to, make sure you speak good French at school and stuff like that. So yeah.
So Mandinka, Fula, French, Wolof.
Yeah, Wolof. When I moved to Dakar, then I started speaking Wolof. Yeah.
And then English before is here?
Yeah.
Or?
English, I studied English, at secondary school. That's where we start, studying languages like English or Spanish or Portuguese. So I started English in secondary school. Okay. And then high school, I continued with English with languages. And I went to university. I was at the English department.
Okay.
So...
Did you study music at university or languages?
No, music was just like my family tradition.
Yeah.
So I studied languages, so it's like a literature languages, but at university it's called English department, but within that, Spanish was my second language.
Okay.
I don't really speak it
I
now.
bet you do, because you're also a big salsa fan, so I know you do.
Yeah, but it's gone. My Spanish is gone, in a way. But and French is like the general language, so basically studied English from French, Spanish from French. But in that we do, that's like American literature and civilization, British literature and civilization, linguistic, those translations and phonetic, But my English became better when I moved in here.
Yeah.
Because in there it's more about the grammar, the syntax, and those kind of things. So you will speak English. We have all these different groups like English Club, where we do some activities to, I also studied at British Council, did some course in there, so that to improve my English,
Was music ever part of your language learning for any of those?
Yeah, at university.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was in the English department as a musician, so I was a kora player. We used to do poetry. So I would play, and then all these students who are into poetry, they would recite some poetry, and then me accompanying them with the kora, and then so we traveled, even did a trip to the Gambia for an exchange for our theatrical activities involving music. All that is, to improve the English and the connection with, because we had the English department at the university, all that to create the musical connection with the language. And also some of my professors at the university, Cheikh Anta Diop, they had this center called West African Research Center.
Okay.
So they used to have students coming from America for 6 months, in the residency, learning about the West African culture, tradition. So I was involved into that, where I would teach them Kora, involving with some, languages, and then of course doing some activities.
And they would be learning the music with you.
Yeah, those kind of things.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited about going to Senegal. End of this month.
Yeah, you are going. Yeah. Sounds great. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Amazing.
What do you love the most about your mother tongue? Do you have any favorite words or expressions?
Yeah, naturally it's the most beautiful language,
Of course. Especially when sung and played over Kora.
But the Mandinka language, because it has a cousin's language besides this, like the Bambara.
Okay.
Like I was saying before, we had the Mande Empire, so we all coming from that same empire. So some of, particularly the Kouyate family, my ancestor were the griot of Sundiata Keita.
Okay.
My straight ancestor. That's why they call us Kouyate, the king of the griots. So the other griot they celebrate as Kouyate Mansajali. That means Kouyate, the king of the griots. So our root is from Mali. Because of our ancestry. So all the Kouyates from Senegal, Mali, Gambia, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, we have the same ancestor.
Wow.
So we have the same origin.
Yeah.
So therefore, you go to Mali, people still speak Bambara. So some of them moved to other side of the empire, like Senegal or Guinea and stuff like that. So in Guinea also they speak Bambara, in Senegal or the Gambia they speak Mandinka. But musically we have the same repertoire.
Okay.
So because it's the same family, great family, wherever you go in these Mande regions.
And everyone's singing in Mandinka?
So in Mandinka, Bambara, Mandinka, because some of the repertoire originated from the Guinea area of the empire. Yeah. Some from Mali, some.
Because the empire was so huge, wasn't it?
And particularly the Kora is originated from the Senegambia region. Yeah. A lot of people, even if say Kora, they think about Mali. Yeah. Because we have amazing, famous Kora players like Toumani Diabaté, Balaki Sissoko, who are from Mali. But it's originated in the Senegambia region, particularly in the region of the Gambia at the time, So you can see the balafon, older than the Kora, is originated in the around the 13th century in Mali.
Is it very separate? Like, if you come from a Kora playing clan, is that your instrument, or can you choose Kora or balafon?
They all belong to the griot family. So because of the
does everyone learn both? Or?
Yeah. Some normally I should be playing balafon because that's the instrument of my ancestors. Okay. That was given to us by a king enemy of the Mande, Sundiata Keita, Sumaworo Kante. So older than the Kora. So some of the repertoire were played on the balafon before, and then the Kora being the youngest instrument of the griots, also people start playing those traditional repertoires, So you have the tradition, but we also have different instruments like the ngoni, the kora, the balafon, So in singing wise, sometimes I would be singing in Mandinka or in Manika, because it's some of the repertoire, because of the language they were sung in, the dialect they were sung in. You understand some of the words, but sometimes not all of them. But it's if you go to Guinea, also they will sing some repertoire from this side, the Casamance side or the Mali side. Yeah. So vice versa,
Do you have any favorite expressions or words?
Expressions.
Or is there something that you say often or you hear often in songs? Or?
Kanu is a very popular word,
Kanu.
Or Jarabi. That's love,
Oh, okay, of course.
So a lot of the songs, it will come up, like in a culture, love comes a lot in songs,
Definitely.
So Dunia
world.
But that's Arabic influence, which is very important as well, because the Arab have colonized West Africa, Sub-Saharan, even probably before the West, you know. So this is like a long time ago, because if you're talking about Timbuktu and all those stuff, that's way a long time ago, even before the West. So if you know that there was already an Arab influence, you know, Timbuktu being a big university, so you have the Islam around that whole region. That's why the griot tradition is related to Islam as well. So even in the singing, in our language,
there's a few
we
Arabic
have a
words.
lot of Arabic words in there, like dunya and all the stuff, you know.
Dunya's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
Girls.
If you go to Wolof, they say Aduna, but still, you know, it's still linked, you know. Even when you say money in Wolof, you say Halis.
It is for money?
Yeah. I think it's related to Arabic as well and all the stuff. And you know, the more obvious one is our names, you know. It's there, you know, South Africa, Senegal, or 90% of our names are Arabic names, you know.
Does Kadialy mean something?
Yeah, it's still an Arabic name. It's actually Egyptian philosopher called Imam Al-Ghazali.
Okay.
So my name is derived from that, because in Mandinka we don't have the Gha, it becomes Kajali. So, but my name is from an Egyptian philosopher. Al-Ghazali.
Cool. Al-Ghazali.
Yeah.
Cool. Learn something every day, though.
Yeah. So in that, you know, in the singing, the griot singing, there are a lot of Arabic or Islam word that come into it as well.
Yeah.
So
So with this mix of languages, do you find that, you know, you dream in one language, or you compose easier in one language, or is it now because you live in London for so many years? Is it like, what do you?
Oh wow! I
how
cannot
has your
remember now
relationship
which
changed?
language did I dream in. Wow. Okay, I have to pay attention to that
Or
next time.
do you feel like if you're away from Senegal too long that you forget a bit of Mandinka, or?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it becomes a bit complex to go deep into some words.
Yeah.
With the Mandinka, I'm still okay, but with the French, I have lost that kind of sharpness.
Yeah.
So I rather say things in English than in French.
Yeah.
You know, because although I still speak French, but not all the time.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know whether it's laziness. So it's easier just to say it in English.
To slip out
because
of
if you try to say it in French, you have to go through some complicated syntax.
Yeah, and translating in your mind.
To try to phrase it properly in a good French, it's always more hard work than English.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, definitely. And then, but if you're also, you know, you're a big salsa fan and hearing all this Spanish, that must further.
Yeah, my Spanish still, I think I am more insecure about my Spanish than all of them, because my Spanish, it kind of dropped a long time ago. Since university, the interest became more English.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I wanted to study here and all the stuff. You know. So the focus became more on the English rather than the Spanish. The Spanish, especially, is same as the English. You come here, you know, the way you learned it in Senegal is very slow. You know, smooth going, and here you hear all these different accents, you know.
Yeah, even north of the river, south of the river, you know.
So all those
changes.
things, you know. Spanish also is like that, you know.
Yeah.
And then people Spanish, you know, they speak fast. You know? So it's like what?
Yeah, especially in Madrid, I find I don't understand anything. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
But the other thing is, I'm not the type who learn language, you know, by listening to the music.
Okay.
Because when I listen to the music, my mind works in a different way.
In the melodies.
In the melodies. So I do hear the words, but I don't capture them. But the melodies, just like it takes me away from the, you know.
So you feel more drawn to the
I am kind
music than the lyrics.
I'm like what the bass is doing, what the drum is doing. But so my mind is always analyzing those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, how they are interlocking. You know, so still, a language, but more of a musical language.
Yeah, and I guess they have their own rhythms and melodies. Are there any languages that you don't speak at all, but you really like how they sound in music?
Portuguese, for example. Yeah. It's such a beautiful, it's the way they formulated them, the harmonies and all the stuff. And
Even just like the greetings. When I got to Brazil, it was really.
Yeah.
And you travel so much for your touring everywhere in the world.
Sometimes,
Do you feel that as a musician, it's easier for you to pick up a language or pick up words or greetings or?
Not always that easy, but also I think you fall into this situation where unless you are really, really interested to learn that language, you don't have to nowadays if you speak English. So that's the disadvantage. So it puts you in the situation where you don't necessarily need to try unless you are a language fanatic.
Speaking of lazy, I had this fantastic book called Point It, and it was this little book with pictures of everything in the world. Every kind of bread, every kind of color, every kind of whatever, and you could just I think he sold over like 2 million copies. It's a genius book. You don't need any language at all.
I remember one time I went to Russia and I was worried about the English. Of course, not a lot of people speak English in there. I haven't been there that long, but in the circle I was in, we were touring with the Royal Shakespeare Company. Then So, but then I didn't need to, I didn't have the need to learn Russian or anything like that, in the hotel environment or the theater environment. There were a few people speaking, things like that. But I remember I secretly went dancing.
You're brave. I wasn't sneaking out anywhere by myself in Russia.
It was amazing. It was beautiful to discover because then you don't know. Because you're in this big company, they're like, oh, be safe, be like this, that. So for me, because dancing is my passion, so I managed to get out to follow that passion, and it took me into an environment where I found some Brazilians, some Cubans, a lot of them in there actually, who have dancing school and then running classes and stuff like that,
They must have thought you were Cuban.
I went to this party, and then they were like some Russians, some Cubans, and some of them speak English, in fact, So you see, you kind of encounter all these different,
music brings us
discovery,
together everywhere.
Otherwise, you would not know, You will just imagine, as I believed, not many people speak English in here. So I don't need to go anywhere. But,
the underground salsa
the dancing language
Russia.
took me,
it's a language too. It is a language too.
It is.
Are there any other languages, African or other languages that you would like to learn?
I heard Swahili is such a beautiful language, so I would love to learn Swahili, been to South Africa, and then they have different languages, but I don't know. I cannot remember exactly which one is which one, but but it has some vibes to it.
So
the language has this vibe.
Especially
nowadays, if you listen, nowadays their music is exposed to the world. It was before because it's a big music scene in South Africa.
From a cappella to electro,
but now with the Amapiano style, with the Amapiano, people a lot of people are listening to South African music in the dancing scene. All those kind of things. So you hear how vibey the language is,
I would love to learn Zulu.
So, and I actually recently collaborated with a South African guy.
Okay.
So we did a single. Well, he did an album, so I recorded one single in that. Mzililika. He's a very interesting guy. Well, Africa.
Have to
So
get the
yeah,
links.
for your political,
links from you.
yeah, kind of political, he's a award-winning, writer, bestseller,
Okay.
but also a political figure. Not a politician, but
Yeah,
kind of
activist.
activist, yeah, political activist,
Amazing.
yeah.
Kadialy, those are all my questions for today. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm going to we'll put in all your everywhere where people can follow you and
Sounds
see you
great.
play and
Yeah,
come
definitely.
hear you or come to SOAS and
Yeah.
learn with you.
Yeah.
So I'll put in all those links. And
Thank
how
you.
do I say thank you in Mandinka?
Abaraka,
Abaraka.
which is Arabic.
Abaraka.
Yeah,
Ah,
baraka.
blessing.
Yeah,
Abaraka.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So in
that makes
Bambara
sense.
also you will say that,
Okay.
So you see how the influence of Arabic into our language as well. So it's like, yeah.
Abaraka.
But also you can say inimbara.
Inimbara.
Yeah,
Inimbara.
yeah. Work is with you, so literally translation. But because people are hardworking, farms and stuff like that, so usually when somebody is saying yes, somebody has done a work. Like for example, this is considered as an effort. So it's inimbara.
Inimbara, the effort is with you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Inimbara.
Yeah.
Abaraka.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you so
Abaraka
much.
comes quite a lot because it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's
nice.
like in the greeting, you say, people say, how you say, in Mandinka,
I'm
how are
blessed.
you? People like, Ibeherato. But also usually in general, people will just say salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Languages to music.